The Falls by George Saunders.
The Falls by George Saunders is written in the third person's point of view. The narrator is all-knowing and has access to the character's thoughts and emotions. The characters of the short story The Falls by George Saunders are Morse, Aldo Cummings, Robert, Annie, Len Beck, Ruth, and the two girls.
Overthinking throughout the story, the main character spent too much time thinking. Morris would second guess everything he did and spend a lot of time thinking about the regrets. Ambition. The theme of ambition is shown through the character Aldo Cummings. He has big dreams such as becoming a famous artist, having shirts made after him, having people begging him for lessons, and having critics write about him. Aldo has all these big dreams for himself, even though he is not doing anything to achieve it. He expects the fame to just come to him.
The Falls by George Saunders. Characters: Morse, Aldo Cummings, Robert, Annie, Lanbeck, Ruth, and the two girls. Settings: St. Jude School grounds, Taganak River, Bryce Falls, and Morse's small rental home.
Theme. The Falls is the last short story in George Saunders' Pastoralia, and through the use of third person, the reader is able to see the perspectives of two men named Morse and Cummings. Plot.
Morse felt anxious as he crossed the St. Jude School grounds. The school sat on a hillside that sloped down to the wide Taganak River, which narrowed and picked up speed and crashed over Bryce Falls a mile downstream near Morse's small rental home. Morse was tall and thin and as gray and sepulchral as a church about to be condemned. From behind him on the path came Aldo Cummings, an odd duck who, though nearly 40, still lived with his mother. Morse hoped Cummings wouldn't collar him, yet when he didn't, then Morse worried about why Cummings hadn't collared him. Morse was a worrywart. He seemed to spend his time agonizing over things instead of actually doing them. He had a wife and two kids, Robert and Annie, but was worried about Robert, who seemed especially passive. Cummings was pleased that he snubbed Morse to whom he considered a smug member of the power elite in the village.
Cummings considered himself a struggling artist, his head filled with visions of his own genius and individual fame. Morris remembered how he had been tricked into painting his ass blue in high school by Len Beck, and then how happy he had felt when he heard Beck had died in the Tagana Falls that night. Cummings saw the canoe roam the steep upstream wall of the snag, and the girls were thrown overboard. Cummings stood stunned. He stumbled over the berm looking for help, but he found only a farm field of tall, dry corn. Morris ran to the river, still uncertain what had befallen the girls, but worried that they might be in trouble, and worried if they were in trouble, what he could possibly do about it. He was very bad under pressure. He expected there to be a rescue line of men trying to help the girls, but when he rounded the bend, he saw the girls struggling, crying for help all alone. He stood undecided, wishing himself elsewhere. The girls were already dead. He thought no one could blame him for living. Finally, he kicked off his loafers and threw his body out across the water. That's all. The end.